Hi everyone. Today we have a lovely Eullie joining us. Thank you for joining us today, Eullie. Just please tell us, how did you go from punching numbers to holding a spatula?
Thank you so much for having me. I started loving baking at varsity because I used to share my flat with a lady who grew up baking. So from there, that's when I loved baking. And when I was resting after my failed business, that's when I thought that why don't I just start what I love, which is baking? And it was the simplest thing for me to start because I didn't have to have a lot of money. It just took few ingredients that I had in my kitchen and I get it rolling.
That's wonderful. How did you find that baking was your passion? Because I'm sure there are other things you might have had passion for.
It's because most of the time when I used to work, after I have learned baking from her, I used to bake for my colleagues and take it to work. Everyone who has a birthday at work, I used to bake for them for free and for my family. And most of them, they will be asking me, please make us a cake, please make a cake for my daughter. Then I thought like, why don't I just do this for a living? That's how I started.
Surely there's money when it comes to accounting. So why would you leave that? How are you making any money from baking?
I would say, when I started focusing on baking cakes only. But within 6 months into the business, I've noticed that most bakers in the rural areas, they don't have baking shops to shop whatever bakers need, because what bakers use, you don't find it in the normal grocery stores. So that's when I quickly scale up and I created an online store where bakers, especially those who are in the rural areas of South Africa, they can easily buy baking ingredients and all the necessary tools that they need to make their cake. And that's how I make money. When I initially started in 2020, I used to make around 1,000 a month. Then within that 6 months, when I translated to even saving the other bakers, I started to make 5,000 a month. And currently I'm sitting at around 120,000 a month. So I always say there's a big market out there, because for anyone who want to start baking, it's quite easy. You can start simple by just having a flour and baking powder, then you grow from there. But the pity is, in the rural areas, there are no baking shops. So that's how I make my money. And I told myself that I need to push hard so that I don't go back to punching numbers anymore.
How did you identify that there was this gap in the rural area? Like how did you go about looking for this gap?
Yeah, it's because, as bakers, most of the time when we are done baking, we share our work on Facebook, which is like, that's how we market our products. So most people who are in the rural areas, when I post my cake on Facebook, they'll ask me, so how did you make this Superman on the cake? Because even me, before I knew baking, I used to wonder, how did they get this cake have Spider-Man and all that? But then that's when I noticed that, okay, people, they don't know you don't bake the Superman. You just use a culture, a mold. Sometimes you use an eatable print. So that's how I identify, because many people will be asking me, how did you do that? How did you achieve that? Where did you buy this? Then here in the city, in each and every 20 kilometers, there's a baking shop. Then that's when I noticed that even when I go home, I'm original from Bushbuck Ridge, I will see in Hazelview, Nelspruit, there's no baking shop. Akonhoek, there's no baking shop. That's when I saw that, okay, there's a gap in the market and I need to jump to it quickly.
South Africa has a very high unemployment rate. So what would you advise a young person trying to start their own thing, having very little resources?
Okay, I'll say you just need to start small with the little that you have. Because most of the time, sometimes we get to think that, oh, if I need this, I need a big funding and I don't qualify and all that. But if you start small, like you can start by baking scones. Let's take you have passion for hair. You can just start by planting people's hair, and you start small and you take care of your customers. Then the customers that you currently have, they're going to be the advocate for you. They will be advertising you than you going out there to advertise yourself. Then from there, you grow step by step.
Thank you so much for joining us today. You truly are an inspiration to all of us young people. May your business continue to grow and prosper. Thank you, everyone. That was Eullie from Eullies Cakery. You can catch her on Facebook or dancing on TikTok.